Hello and welcome to APTN National News this December 1st afternoon. I'm Sav Chonsa. Today, the search of Winnipeg's Brady Road landfill begins for the remains of Ashlee Shingoose. She is the last of 4 First Nation women to be searched for following their murders more than 3 years ago by a now convicted serial killer. The 30-year-old mother of 3 was murdered in March 2022 by a man targeting First Nation women at shelters in central Winnipeg. Shingoose was from St. Teresa Point on Shinanu Nation in northern Manitoba. She was named Mashkade Bijiki Ikwe, or Buffalo Woman, by Indigenous community members while her identity remained unconfirmed for 3 years. DNA found confirmed her identity in March of this year. Another victim, Rebecca Contois, was the first of the 4 women to be found when her remains were uncovered in the Brady Road landfill in June 2022. The Prairie Green landfill search for Morgan Harris and Mercedes Myron yielded results around 3 months after it began this time last year. There is a lot of mixed reaction coming out after Thursday's memorandum of understanding was signed between the federal and Alberta governments. The MOU will try to fast-track a new oil pipeline from Alberta to the West Coast for export. Chris Stewart has more.
It was all smiles Thursday when Alberta Premier Danielle Smith and Prime Minister Mark Carney signed an MOU to increase Canada's oil exports by building one more new pipeline. It would deliver bitumen from Alberta to the coast of British Columbia for overseas markets to diversify away from U.S. trade. The MOU says the pipelines would be Indigenous co-owned and move 1 million barrels of oil a day. There are currently no private ownership in line. Dale Swampy is the president of the National Coalition of Chiefs. He wants to see 51 to 100% Indigenous ownership.
I'm encouraged, and I hope there's more First Nations that are willing to, come up front and center and learn more about, the safety, integrity, and environmental protection plan features of a project like this, so they can make an informed decision and meet with the proponents, meet with the Alberta government, meet with the federal government, and try to understand and make an informed decision.
Swampy would like to see the revival of the Northern Gateway pipeline that was canceled in 2016 after then Prime Minister Justin Trudeau banned oil tankers off the BC coast.
We can build a pipeline in 2 years to the coast once you get approval. So I think if you're going to look for no proponents willing to go in right now, first of all, because the tanker ban hasn't been removed. Second of all, the cost is pretty high. And third, there's no guarantee that, the government will approve it unless they have the majority of First Nations on board.
And Marilyn Slett says it will stay that way. She is president of the Coastal First Nations in BC.
Today's MOU does nothing to improve the chances of a North Coast pipeline ever becoming reality. Coastal First Nations, along with the province of BC, will do everything in our power to protect our coast from a real threat of an oil spill. There is no technology that can clean up an oil spill, and we know this as Helsik people, as we've experienced the Nathan E. Stewart in 2016, and we're still living with the after effects of that spill.
That spill leaked 110,000 liters of diesel fuel on sensitive waters. She doubled down on saying the pipeline is a no-go.
We will never allow oil tankers in our coastal waters because an oil spill could destroy our way of life. This MOU does not override the rights and title of Coastal First Nations on BC's North Coast, Central Coast, and Haida Gwaii. The honor of the Crown means the federal government must consult with us on a nation-to-nation basis, and Canada's domestic and international legal commitments mean they must seek our consent. We will never consent to allowing oil tankers in our coastal waters.
Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Edmonton.
The fallout continues throughout this weekend after Ottawa signed a memorandum of understanding with Alberta, which lays out the conditions for a possible new pipeline to the West Coast. Now, in a shift of tone, BC Premier David Eby isn't ruling out the plan, but he says a ban on oil tankers must remain in place. Here's what he had to say on CTV's Question Period Sunday morning.
My anxiety is about this oil tanker ban, which is the foundational social license piece for tens of billions of dollars of investment in BC that is nearing final investment decision, and tens of billions of dollars of investment that is medium term as well, like expansion at the Port of Prince Rupert and so on. And so if we can agree that the oil tanker ban is going to stay in place, then let's have those conversations. I think that would make life a lot better and easier in British Columbia in terms of our relationship with coastal First Nations. And we definitely take down the temperature and maybe enable some creative solutions. I'd love to talk about refining.
Eby says his government is interested in exploring conversations to purchase more oil and gas from Alberta instead of the United States. The Premier's comments come after weeks of opposing the pipeline project, stating that he and the province should have been involved in the talks. And as BC's Premier says he's open to a pipeline project in his province if the tanker ban continues, the former president of Kinder Morgan Canada says the market will dictate the path of a new pipeline.
And the market should decide where that pipeline ends up. Like, is it Kitimat? Is it Prince Rupert? Is it Vancouver? Do we go back to Vancouver and build another pipe, along the existing Trans Mountain route, which is always an alternative? So I think that the market has got to now respond. The market's got to respond with its dollars, with its commitment, and with its energy to do their own business a different way if we're going to meet these timelines.
After the news last week of the resignation of MP Stephen Guilbeault from Cabinet, Prime Minister Mark Carney has announced a shuffle this morning. The now former Environment Minister resigned after Carney and Alberta Premier Danielle Smith signed an MOU on a proposed pipeline from Alberta to the west coast of BC. The swearing-in ceremony for Carney's new cabinet is expected at Rideau Hall at 3 p.m. Eastern Time this afternoon. As the Carney government rolls out its so-called nation-building projects, one proposal in British Columbia includes connecting the Yukon Territory's standalone power grid to that of its southern neighbor. While the Yukon Development Corporation is touting the proposed project's benefits, one First Nation says it's already off to a rocky start. Here's Sarah Connors with that story.
The Yukon is growing, and so is its need for electricity. But the territory's isolated power grid can make it challenging to meet demand. Enter the Yukon-BC Grid Connect project, a proposed $4 billion high-voltage line linking the territory to the North American power grid, improving its access to reliable, affordable, clean power. The project is part of the North Coast Transmission Line, which aims to expand the power grid in northwestern BC and is one of the Carney government's designated nation-building projects.
We're not in support of the proposed route going through Kaskakea, at least through the Ross River area.
But at least one First Nation in the Yukon isn't lending its support. One of the grid project's two proposed routes runs through the Ross River Dene Council's asserted territory. Its chief says the nation has concerns about its environmental impact, high cost, and how it would help power resource extraction projects.
We're always concerned about impacts to our land base.
He also takes issue with the Yukon Development Corporation recently claiming no First Nations opposed the project, a statement he says was made after his nation had already submitted its concerns.
So we'd like to see that statement corrected for the record.
To me, this is indeed a good plan.
This energy expert applauds the project overall, but warns there could be some impacts. He says road access construction can cause disturbance, and in some cases, transmission lines can become wildlife corridors, making it easier for predators to access prey.
In the relative scheme of things, I think that yes, transmission lines are relatively low impact. That's not to say it's zero, but that it is low.
This Yukon Development Corporation lead says as the project moves ahead, Ross River will have more opportunities to have its voice heard, though she stopped short of clarifying earlier comments about its support.
We have recently sent a letter out, and so we're hoping for a response and to set up more of an engagement plan with Ross River.
Despite starting off on the wrong foot, Loblaw says his nation could be open to the grid project, with conditions.
That would be the first step, is to correct the record and meaningfully engage with the nations.
The project is still in the pre-feasibility stage, and it will likely be years before a transmission route is chosen and shovels hit the ground. Sarah Connors, APTN National News, Whitehorse.
We are going to take a quick break now. We'll see you in a couple minutes. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome back. The federal government has announced funding to train some Indigenous communities in Manitoba for jobs within the mining and critical minerals sector. 3 projects will be funded by a $540,000 investment in hopes of building capacity and economic growth in Manitoba. The Manitoba Métis Federation will receive up to $300,000 to develop skills for 150 Red River Métis citizens interested in a career in mining. Mosaigagan Cree Nation will focus on training and workshops for mineral exploration in their region with $141,000. The Thompson Regional Airport Authority will also receive almost $100,000 to test emerging technologies like drones and automated vehicles in the north. Altogether, Canada says the total investment is expected to create 6 jobs and maintain 2. MMF Minister Jack Park says the federal government is definitely starting to work with Indigenous communities when it comes to resource extraction projects.
It's been long overdue. We've said for years and years in our history is that we're people of the land. We're stewards of the land. We want to protect the land. We want to ensure that there's a future, not only for our youth, but for generations to come. So absolutely 100%, it's a good starting point, but there's more to do yet.
There's 3 drilling companies right now in Moose Lake, Mosaigagan. So we tend to get our youth out there. So they're doing the training now. So hopefully in the future, we're going to have our own drilling companies.
BC officials say they've ruled out any link between 4 captured grizzly bears and a recent attack on a group of school children and their teachers on a field trip. The BC Conservation Officer Service says a forensic lab analyzed evidence, including DNA from last week's attack in Ballacoola, 700 kilometers northwest of Vancouver. 3 children and a teacher suffered serious injuries. The investigation and search for the bears involved continues. Residents are advised to avoid the 4-mile area, to stay indoors, and not try to search for the bears themselves. Meantime, the already captured animals are expected to be relocated within their home range over the coming days. The territory of Nunavut says they are making progress on eliminating tuberculosis by 2030, and a new drug can make treating the disease even faster. But as Justin Hardy tells us, one of the biggest hurdles in eradicating the disease is the stigma surrounding it.
In 2025, Nunavut had 4 ongoing tuberculosis outbreaks. Those in Pengnirtung and Pond Inlet were declared over earlier this year, according to the Department of Health. The 2 others in Arviat and Nariat are considered under control, according to Nunavut's Chief Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Ekwa Ejimang.
Those who had the active TB disease, who were infectious and could be spreading it, we've identified most of them and treated them. And we are screening for people with sleeping TB to also treat so that they don't get TB in the future.
Ejimang says that there are a number of factors contributing to the spread of TB in Nunavut communities, from overcrowding to food access. But she says one of the biggest issues is the stigma surrounding the disease and the fear of even getting tested.
Because of the historical trauma of TB sanatoriums, where the ships will come around and people were asked to get on and didn't get a chance to say goodbye, so we're just taken away to TB Sanitarium down south, and so, unfortunately, some people never return. That stigma and fear is still very real. And so what we are doing now is trying to get identify TB early, because once the infection is identified early, it can be treated in community and people don't have to leave.
A new drug may assist Nunavut in eliminating TB. A second phase clinical trial of sorfequilin shows that a regimen including the drug could help reduce treatment time to about 15 weeks. Normal treatment of active tuberculosis could take anywhere from 6 to 9 months, and latent sleeping TB could take 3 to 9 months to treat. Ejimong says that any drug that reduces treatment time is a game changer, but the other biggest factor in successful treatment is avoiding reinfection.
It's not even just about finishing treatment and it's done, but then the determinants of health that would make another person who has just completed treatment be infected again with TB in the next year. Those are the things we really need to be working towards.
Nunavummiut experiencing coughs for more than 2 weeks, fever and night sweats, loss of appetite or weight loss, coughing up blood, or being more tired than usual are encouraged to get tested at no cost at their local health center. Justin Hardy, APTN National News, Iqaluit.
We now want to give you the results of last week's web poll questions. Last week we asked, are you affected by the Indian Act's second generation cutoff? 44% voted yes and 56% voted no. Our second question was, what is the most pressing issue facing Nunavut's new MLAs in the legislature? 15% said housing, 9% said child welfare, 33% said food insecurity, 10% said national defense, and 33% were unsure. And our final question was, are you in favor of advancing pipeline construction to help the economy? 23% voted yes, 46% voted no, and 31% were unsure. Thanks to all those who took the time to vote. You can go to our website, aptnnews.ca/poll, to cast your ballot for this week's website poll questions. One last break now. We'll see you back here soon. What does nature have in store for us today? It will be 4 and rainy in St. John's, 6 and some sun in Charlottetown. Kuujjuaq will be a sunny -12 and -7 in snow in Nain. Montreal will be -6 and -5 in Quebec City. Toronto will be -4 and -10 in North Bay. Wawa is -7 and snowy, -11 and sun in Big Trout Lake, -25 in Churchill and -18 in Norway House, -14 in Winnipeg and -11 in Barons River. Lots of sun in southern Saskatchewan, -16 in Regina, -17 in Yorkton. -17 in Stony Rapids and -15 in La Ronge. Sunny but cold in Fort Chipewyan, -14 and -2 in Peace River. It'll be 0 in Edmonton and +2 in Calgary. Vancouver is a foggy +6 and 0 in Bella Coola. +3 in Prince George, -7 in snow in Fort Nelson. -4 in Whitehorse and -13 in Old Crow. -23 in Wati and Yellowknife. -11 in Tuktoyaktuk, -13 in Colville Lake. -26 in Arviat and -28 in Cambridge Bay. -19 and sunny in Iqaluit, -23 in sun in Resolute. Like many teams in the Professional Women's Hockey League, the Montreal Victoire opened their 2025-2026 season this week. At the heart of their home opener win, a standout Indigenous player. APTN's Kim Sullivan went to meet her.
Oh my, and Laura Stacey cutting through. That sets up Abby Roque. Abby Roque comes in and scores!
This first goal for Abby Roque in a Victoire uniform ended up being the highlight of the game.
I actually don't think I've ever tried that in a game or practiced it, and I don't know why I decided that was the moment. And honestly, I was doing it, and I was like, this is stupid. And then it went in, so I got lucky.
Abby Roque is of the Winnipeg First Nation and grew up in an Indigenous community on the American side of Sault Ste. Marie. She began to play hockey at the age of 6.
I grew up with a backyard ice rink, so I'm a little spoiled.
Spoiled because her father was also a lover of hockey. Jim Roque was a coach when she was growing up and is now a professional scout for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
While he coached, I was always kind of addicted to the game, and if we had an off day from school, I'd probably show up with him at 8 a.m. and I wouldn't leave till 6 p.m.
Having no options to play on a girls' team, Abby learned the sport by playing with boys.
It's nice now that I can use what I knew from those years to play physical, to keep my head up. Like, I think a lot of girls who had never played checking aren't expecting to get hit as much.
Castle draws, backdoor, they score! Abby Roque with their first of the game.
Her playing style and skills on the ice caught the attention of scouts, and she was the first Indigenous person to play for the United States women's national team, making her Olympic debut in 2022.
I was lucky enough to be able to make that roster and play in that Olympics, but it definitely means a lot. Like, representation is so huge. To be able to finally have somebody at that Olympic level was really important to me, and we can only hope that I'm definitely not the last.
Despite the added pressure, being a great role model is something Abby holds close to her heart.
You want to make sure that young Indigenous girls and boys know that if you put your best foot forward, you can end up here. You can be a pro. If you don't want to be a pro, you want to do something else, you can do it.
She also notices the love she gets from the fans, who are proud to see cultural representation on the ice.
I think most people, it's the one night a year, the Indigenous game, and I know we have one this year, but for me, I do try to look around during warm-ups, and there'll be signs like, I want to play because of you, different things like that. And when those kids come to the games, I can at least give them some piece of my time.
The Indigenous Peoples Celebration game against the Boston Fleets will be held on March 15th. Let's hope that it's as memorable as this week's home opener.
And she rips this one.
In the 4-0 victory against the New York Sirens, Abby not only scored a remarkable between-the-legs goal, but she also added 2 assists. One of her helpers aided teammate Marie-Philippe Poulin to become the first player in PWHL history to reach 30 goals and 50 career points. On top of that, Anne-Renée Desbiens recorded her first shutout of the season.
Denied by Anne-Renée Desbiens!
Abby Roque was named the first star of the game.
I think at the end it was really cool when I did the interview and the puck. I think that was really cool. Just hearing the fans and things definitely got a little emotional.
And that followed by another memorable moment in the dressing room.
I think one that kind of probably felt good to win that one tonight was Abby Roque.
Yeah! We tip our hat to you, Abby. Kim Sullivan, APTN National News, Montreal.
That's all we have for your APTN National News this Monday afternoon. Tune in at 6 p.m. Eastern for more stories from our reporters across Turtle Island. But for now, I'm Sav Jonesa, and from all of us here at APTN, thanks so much for watching and take care.